Okay. Um, yeah, so I said second way, if you want to create this using a plugin, so this is we creating it ourselves. You want to create it using a plugin, what you do is that you first create a shape. This is a shape. Then you would need to right click on your mouse. You right click on your mouse, you go down to where you have plugin. Yeah, you go down to where you have plugin. Now, I don't know from your own end, you might not have the plugins that I have. So if you do not have the plugin, I want to believe you do not, you will have to search for a plugin to use. So what you do is, for me, I have tons of plugins that I use, a number of them. Um, for you, you will have to click on development. Sorry, hold on. Okay. So Figma has moved the positioning of where it is. So if you look at the down of your screen here, where you have all these your tools, you click on this actions um, button there. If you click on that, you see where you have all assets, plugins, and widgets. So you click on that. You see tons of plugins. There are tons of plugins to search from. A lot of plugins to search from, Lottie files. So there are a lot of plugins to search from. Let me save this out. I need something from this later. So what you do, you come here and you search for Iconify. So where is it? I just saw it now. Yeah, this is it here. You can use any other one. It doesn't have to. The reason why I use Iconify is because they have a lot of icons there. So you can use any other one, material design icon, front awesome icon, blah, blah, blah. So me, I like to go with Iconify. You click on it to take some time. So loading plugin and then it will pop up. This is it. So over here, it gives you a lot of plugins. Now, the concern now when you are here is to be able to get the right name for what you are looking for. We need to get the right name. So for this one, let's say angle, ANGLE. Let's see what it shows us. So it shows us angles here. We could see different types. Okay, there's a left, there's a right. I can use a left and just invert it. So, but now remember, I prefer to take, so you're just going to click and drag. That's what you do. You click and you drag. Click on it and you drag. I prefer to use um what is it called? From this I prefer to pick um icons from here that have lines instead of shape like you did, because there are some icons there that are shapes like this, but mine is line. It's an outline. It's a stroke. There are some that are shapes like this. The challenge with this is that the way I was enhancing the thickness of this to make it bolder, to make it, I will not be able to do it for something like this. So I prefer to use outline so that I can always increase the thickness if I need. So this one I selected now, you can see it's an outline. If I'm clicking on it, I can see the outline at the center of it. I can see the outline there. Um, Let me see, try and find one that is not an outline. Let me see this one. Okay, yeah, this one is not an outline. So if you look at this one now, if I click on this, I can reduce the stroke. because it does not have stroke. If I try to add stroke, this is what will happen. So I've added stroke. I'm going to remove the fill. The stroke is around it and not at the center. Let me explain. Let me increase it so that you see better. Now you see, this is what it looks like. Because it was not an outline, it's a shape rather. So I prefer to use an outline, which is this, so that I can increase it how I want, anyhow I want. And then with an outline, I can also change the the angles, how I want them to look like. I can change the angles. But for this guy, I cannot change how the edge of the shapes look like. But this one gives me the liberty to do that. So if you are going to be using Iconify, very simple. You click on it, you search for what you want, you scroll. When you find it, there are tons of icons here. When you find it, you take it, you put it into what you want to use it for. You change the color as it's deemed fit for your design, and then that is it. You are done with what you're creating. Are we together? Sarah, are you there? She dropped off.
Oh, sorry, I muted. Yes, yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I was saying that to create these stuffs, you now do not need to use images, or because if I can see your own now, this image seems compressed. I don't know, Sha, but you don't need to create images. You can also, the same way you, for instance, you have the plugin here. You can get plugins that can give you these things that are already made. It's possible. Motion, animate UI, create, animate. And you can create an animation with plugins. There are a lot of things you can do with plugins. A whole lot that makes or brings your design to life. But then for this now, let me use, instead of me creating all of this in one after the other, it's going to take me a while. So I created just one icon. It seems fast, but if you have vast icons to create, it's going to take you a while. So it's best to use Iconify. So if I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to say, um, so this we have service bar, we have Wi-Fi, and we have battery. So let's start with service. I don't know if that's the right word they used for it yet. I don't know if anybody has a better suggestion, we can search
What
with.
what I actually searched for was status bar. When I clicked on status bar, they brought the image of that
Eh, eh,
what you
of
call
which of them?
service. Yes, of that one.
Okay, status bar. Let's see. Okay, they're
What
not
you
really.
brought out for me wasn't this actually. It
I
was
know.
this
So
shape as an image.
yes. So the thing is, for those ones, you are checking a site, and then although different sites will use different names to name their elements, but then
Okay.
that site, what you're checking, they are images. They are not shapes that are editable. So these are images. They are not
Mm.
editable. I can edit this. For instance, now let you know the bad side of this. If you were to create a design that has a dark screen, so let's assume this your design is supposed to be a dark screen. Your images, your stuffs are lost.
Okay.
But if you were to use shapes and you want to create a dark screen, let's say you across your design, some screens are dark, some screens are bright. What you need to do is you just click on it and then you change the color. Just like this one now. This one is edited because you added the text. You just click on it, change the color, change it to white. Bam, you're done. For these ones now, you start having constraints because they are not editable.
Okay.
So it's good to use when it comes to things like this, use elements that you can adjust. So let's try and still search. Let's see. there should be something. There should be, okay, let's try network.
Okay, I used Signal.
Okay, I'm beginning to see some of them here, but these ones are not like this that we're looking for. The ones that has different. Okay, we're beginning to have one of them here. Let me still see if we see any other one. Okay, I've seen this guy, but not exactly what we need for this one. Let's see. Okay, let me search with the signal that you mentioned. Okay, yeah, so this is better. We've been able to get it. So which one best fits what we need? So I think this guy, right? How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4. There's no one as small as this. Um, let's see, let's see, let's see. Okay, we're not really seeing anyone that looks exactly like that. So we just pick one of them. Let's take this one. Let's see if it's an outline. Okay, I would not suggest to use this. It's not an outline. I would prefer to use an outline. Let me look for another one. I need the one that is 4 instead of 5. Well, let me take this. We can always delete out one. Let's see. This also is not an outline. Ugh.
So
And
for you to know if it's an outline, you have to like drag out, like you have to
um,
drag them out one
so
after the other.
for me, that's what I do because I've tried to look across. I try to look across their design to see if they have like a way I can specify what I need. That, oh, outline or no outline, but I've not been able to find line or so. I've not been able to find filter, a way to filter my search. So I've not been able to find, say, filter by icon set. So let me try. This is the only line. Okay, line icon. I can see line icon here. Let's see what that brings. This is the only thing that comes up. Interesting. So, I've tried that before. It doesn't, I keep having that issue. So I don't know, for this guy, maybe they didn't so much do the line stuff. I think so. I think. Let's try one more and see. Let me try this one. Okay, I can't find anyone with line, so let's just go with one of them. Let's take this guy. I'm gonna remove all this other one. The next thing we're looking for is Wi-Fi. Let me see if I can. I okay, this one was very straightforward. So I think probably for this one, we're not searching with the actual name. Signal. This says signal. Let me go back a little bit.
If
Just
you,
so that
if you click on if you type Wi-Fi, won't see okay, so Wi-Fi is type.
yeah, so this one is more like a GIF. This one is moving. Sounds like a GIF. So these are all signals, signal. Okay. I'm going to search signal later. I don't know if it was signal search before. So what were you saying?
I actually thought you like entered a different name. So I noticed that it was Wi-Fi you typed in.
Yeah, it was Wi-Fi type. So for these shapes, basically they are all not outlines. So I'm going to just use one of them. Okay, let me see this one. I'm just saying, I'm not physically going to use it because it doesn't say. Okay, this is one is more of an outline. This guy's an outline, but this is not what we need because it's not what we're looking for this. Let me use outline for this and see if it will bring out, where's that outline so that time? So there are a lot of outline. I don't know how to start picking. Let's not burden ourselves with that. It's going to take a lot of time. This is the only one that has, let me see if it's still an outline. It's still not even an outline. Okay. Okay. Still pretty much the same thing we said earlier. It's pretty much what we searched earlier. Okay, so now you get my point with this. Now you are able to get the service bar, you're able to get your signal bar, Wi-Fi bar, signal bar, then your battery. Okay. Yeah, lots of battery. Just take your time, search, look for what you need, and then you can use. For want of time, I'll just pick one of what we have here. So, but take your time. So, Sarah, you get my point with all of this, right?
Yes,
These
sir.
ones, you are able to change the colors, all that, based on what you need. So, when you continue your design, so I'm going to delete all this. Take your time to search yourself. Let me know, get your canvas messy. So you can take your time to continue your design. And yeah. So another thing I wanted to say was this. I'm going to remove this. What you were doing here was not really a standard for you. You need not to do this. And for you, you were basically using shapes. Why were you using shapes?
Actually, I when I started it, I didn't know what to do. So I was just like trying to follow what
You
I
didn't watch
saw.
the video.
I
Did
was
you watch
actually
it?
watching, I was actually watching it, but I
Okay.
think I mixed it up. That was why.
Okay. Okay. For me, at some point, I just said I was going to use shapes just so that we rush the process. This is not a standard for you to do. This stuff I was saying was just a guide that
Okay.
was it's just a guide for you to know that, oh, what you have at the top of your screen here is for status bar. You don't have to put information there. What you have at this side of your screen, it's just like when you want to move into a new apartment, uh, and you enter to the apartment, you see that once you enter in the apartment, you know where your living room should be. You know where your dining room should be. You know where your kitchen, you know where the bedroom. So they've been able to create layouts. The owner of the building has been able to create layout that gives you an idea which room is which. You can't start seeing sink or cupboard in your bedroom. You know, your washing sink, you can't find it in your bedroom. So there have been certain guides that have been put around the house that are supposed to guide the occupant, knowing what each room serves for. So for us, this that you saw from that design was a guide in knowing how to position your elements on your screen. To know that, okay, whenever you're designing, that guide is not for something for you to redesign. It's just for something for you to guide you when you are actually designing. To say, okay, my whatever I'm designing is not supposed to come into the top part of my screen. Then for this middle part, it's for navigation. So if you can see what it says here, nav bar, it means navigation. What it means is that
is where holds icon or things that are supposed to help me navigate back or front. For this one now, you can see it has a button to go back. So if I'm designing for an app and I want to be able to navigate back or front, that's a good place to put a navigation bar. Another one, if you check down here, it says active bar, tab bar, status bar, whatever name they want to call it. If you check your WhatsApp, you notice that you can navigate from your chat to your, what's it called, status, all of those things at the bottom part here is called the status bar. They cannot add those things at the center of the screen. So this image like this is what guides you to know that, okay, these are where elements are supposed to be placed while I'm designing my screen. So it's not something for you to design. It's just like a guide, a mental guide. So having said that, while you're designing here, understanding each of these things would be able to give you an idea to say, okay, whenever I'm designing, I'm supposed to have elements here and elements are not supposed to be here. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think tomorrow it would be good for us to be able to try one or two things. I've been trying to encourage us to design from our end, but it appears that a number of us have not been doing that. Tomorrow, what we'll do is that we'll do a practical live design. I'm going to, while we come on the call, every one of us is going to be on the screen. We're all going to come together. Just the same way I and Sarah is collaborating, everyone will be given a canvas. So if we come and we say, I ask how many persons are with their computer. See, this is not compulsory, but then it is something that is supposed to help you. So if you are available to do it tomorrow, it's fine for you. If you're not available, we'll proceed with those ones that are available. So everyone that comes to the screen, what we'll do is that we're going to create you a section, create a section like this for you, and then we'll give the section your name. So if your name is Ade, say Ade, and then you're going to design your own stuff in here. What we'll do is that I'll bring a singular design, something different from what we did, but still going to be very much simple. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to drop it here. Every one of us is going to copy it into our own section, and we're going to try to replicate it. So tomorrow's class is going to be a very practical one, is so that it can help us grow in what we're doing. So you can help us grow in what we're doing. Every one of us, I think I've given us very much information to be able to start with do one or two things. I don't want to keep, we've still been at this section for a while. We've not started designing complex screens, admin sections, and we still have a lot to really do. And we just have but a short time. So for me, it would be better that if you know this little and the other ones, if you know this little, you'll be able to research and further enhance yourself than me telling you everything and you don't know nothing. So I feel more comfortable if we can know this little, you'll be able to guide yourself even after this class. And after the classes is done, guide yourself proceeding further. So I think that's the trajectory we're going to go tomorrow. I'm going to bring a design. Every one of us is going to have different sections from our design UI. Every one of us have that link. It's right there in our group. So we're all going to take a section. I'm going to bring a design. We're going to copy it, paste it. I'm going to paste the design. Once it's time for class, I'm going to paste the design on the WhatsApp group, or I'm going to drop it here. You're just going to copy it, drop it yourself, and try to duplicate. We're going to see, okay, if we can try and do that in the first 30 minutes. I'm going to try to make it easy. But don't worry, when we come tomorrow, we'll know how to make it easy for ourselves. But I really want to encourage us so that let's all get to what's it called? Get engaged with these things. So Sarah, well done. Thank you for taking the better part of today's class. It was really nice to see that you're trying one or two things. So going down to where we stopped last week. let me confirm. I was trying to ask earlier. Hope it's not just Sarah I have on this call. Where are the rest of us?
So I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, for the design we just considered, I was trying to fit in like the actual text style, like the font, yes, the font family, but I could not like get the exact type that was used for that product. So I was just like I really wanted to like get that exact
This is
um
that one.
yes, for the time part this time where we
Okay.
have 941. I believe it's the same font that was used for the whole page. I don't know. So I was trying to
Okay.
like get the exact font family, but I could not get it. I was just looking from the font families available.
Mm.
Yes, I was just looking for the one that can be very similar to this. And yes, this was where I was looking at. And I just picked anyone. But I didn't know the exact font family they used. I don't know if there's a way anyone can like
I don't
ins-
know. I don't know. Okay, let me search. I don't know the exact font that is, but let's search. Let's say Apple. Um, okay, let me say what is font used on Apple. That is tiny, right? Apple Mobile. Tiny. What's the right one? Now, what's the font used for Apple Mobile? Apple Mobile. I'm trying to look for the right word to use to define my search. What's the font used for Apple Mobile UI? Fine. Star. Star. Okay, let's see if this can help us. Because Apple used to let their stuff out. So the font used sometime is Sans Serif Pro. So Sans Pro is a very beautiful font. I mentioned it. If you check, I didn't know that that was what Apple used, but I mentioned it as part of the fonts we have here. Let me see last week if I still have it here. Yeah, this is it. Sans Pro. I mentioned it that as a designer, one of the things you need to start getting used to is the use of fonts. You need to know, okay, this font looks better for this. So let's see, sure, Sun Pro. Okay, unfortunately, what am I typing? S-A-N. Okay. Oh, SF Pro. It's supposed to be SF Pro, right? Yeah. SF Pro. SF Pro. Yeah, so the number of them, there's display, there's round, there's text, there's Proxima, Nova. So why is this gonna go up here? Let's be sure. So let's use text. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the same because what we are using here, seeing here, and what is here is different. But there's another way I can find out. I can try and find out what font this is. But it appears that the font that Apple really used, these guys that designed this, they didn't use the font Apple used. So that's obvious. They did not use the font Apple used. They used a different font. And we so much cannot know what fonts they use, but this is what I can do. Let me see. I can do this. So I have like I said, Becoming a designer puts you, let me save this to my desktop. Becoming a designer puts you on edge to finding out tools that are supposed to help you work better. So I want to find the fonts that is used here. Let me see. I have a plugin that I use on my device that is called WhatFont. This plugin helps me to define fonts that I use across a design. You see now, I just click the plugin. If I'm moving my mouse, it tells me the fonts that Google use here. You can see Google Sans. I'm able to detect fonts that I use on pages. The font that I use here is Arial. The font used here is Google Sans. So basically, the fonts Google used to build their Google page is Google Sans and Arial. That's the fonts they use. So let's look at another page. Let me exit it. Let me use page like Zoom. Okay. For example, if I come to Zoom and I say, wow, I love this font. I love how the K looks cursive. I would like to use it for one of my projects. I'll just come and use this, my guy. What font? I'm able to see the font. Happy Face, Smile, Bold. Happy Face, Semi Bold. That's the font they use. Happy Face, Semi Bold. Let me see for the smaller one. They use Almaden. That's the other font they use here. So those are the two fonts. I told us the other day that basically you are supposed to use two fonts is fine. Why? Because one of the fonts for your bigger text, then a more readable, less tiring font for your smaller text. So having those two, you're good. If you check across the design, you see that's what it's used. This font for smaller, this font for bigger. This font, all these ones now small text, so they are using the same small one. Anywhere you see a very big bold text, you see that they use the bigger one across the design. So for me to find the one that is used on that image, unfortunately, that is an image and not a website, because for instance, there are a lot of things you can do. For instance, on this website now, if I can actually study what was done on this website beyond just the font. I can download the font from this website. I can do a lot of things. I can try to inspect. If I right click on any font and I go to inspect, I can see what the developers did on this page. See over here, these are codes, how this page is built. And each of this code I click is highlighting on each of the things that were done on this page. So I'm able to see, say, okay, this is what they did here. This is what they did here. You say, okay, I can just look through. Sometimes I do it. When I see designs that are very nice, complex, I try to see how they achieve. So for Oma was asking me something one time like that. I was telling Oma that codes can just come to Figma, copy the code. The developers can come and put the code. This is what I mean. So the developers now knows how to section code. When they come, they pick the code. Once they drop the code here, so if I like this code that I'm clicking now, this is a code I'm clicking. The code is highlighting everything that was on this part. I'm going to click on it, highlight on it again. So once the developer copies the code and puts it here, what happens is that it just forms this exactly how you did it on Figma. What the developer is doing is duplicating your design, but this time is duplicating it on a development standpoint, such that it can now be deployed, and then people can now search the web and then they're able to see the design, to see what has been done. Then at the back end, that's where they now start sectioning things. Now say, okay, to now start making it work real time, whereby if you click on contact, it will contact. When you click sign up, it's actually taking your data and sign up and all that. So, but so it is in a situation like this, that's how that plugin, what's the word name called again? That extension on Chrome, we call it extension. That's how this extension is able to read which font is used on each website, because there's a possibility to go back. Sometimes I can even download these images that I use there. I can go down to find images that are used across the design. Then if I come to source, for instance, I'm under source, I can see the fonts that is used. I can try to search to where I can find images, and then I can download the images that are used for the site. Let me see if I can do a quick one. I don't know. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to be able to find where the folders that they are saved in. So this is me just taking my time to see, look at the code of what Google did. I said Google, what's it called? Zoom did. Okay, over here, I'm going to see images. I can see logo, vector logo. See, this is their logo that they use here. I can see the logo. I can decide to download it, see. But let me not spoil what they have, please. So another logo used here, powered by somewhere. So if you keep checking, you might get to a point where you see pictures or something. So I'm going to leave that. That's not our concern for today. But then, so the reason why to get a font now in a situation whereby so for this one now, for instance, we know the name of this font. The name of this font is Happy Face Semi Bold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to screenshot this font. So let's assume that the only thing I have of this is the image, just like the other one, and not a website. I don't have a website where I can just scroll through. These guys that I use, WhatFont, they have a website of their own where I can search for the font by image. So WhatFont. So this is my font. That's the name of this thing. It's called myfont.com. Myfonts.com. I'm going to click on it. So this is the website. On this website, I'm able to search fonts that are used on different products by image. Just it's taking a little time to load. Okay. Okay. So what it tells me now, it said type or paste your image. So I'm going to drag. I don't want to create an account. Thank you. So I'm going to drag this image. I saved it to my desktop. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to paste it here. It's going to take time to identify. So see, it has identified the image. Tip for best result. So they're telling us don't slant the image. Ensure the image is not blur. What else? Ensure. Is there any other thing? Just all of this information, just show that your images meet this standard so that they are able to read it properly. So I'm going to remove this. So now you can now select which of these fonts you want to use to make your search. For me, what I like apparently on this font is how the K is looking. That's what I like. So you see how it selects each of the words, not letters, but words. So anyone that I don't need, I can just say, okay, this is the one I need. But sometimes it might be that I like the K and I like the C. But now the K is in this word, the C is in this word, and you can see I can select both of them at the same time. So what I need to do is I'm just going to remove one of them. Click on this one. Let's say I want to search for okay, let me just work on this too. I'm going to extend this to cover both of them. So, okay, I want to search for these two words together. So this one now that is highlighted, I'm going to click on identify font. I'll click on that. It's going to take its time to search the web. So it's going to try to find me what font best match that description. Sometimes it might give you the exact font. It might give you font that looks close. So from what we have here, it gave me a font semi-bold. Now you remember the font we searched
it was also semi-bold. But for this, a lot of things look similar. This was our font, what we copied. I don't know if I can increase what is here. Fortunately, I can't. But this was what we copied. But then it's not giving me the same K. So I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm beginning to find something close. This is close. This K looks close to what I saw, but the W is not the same. So just take your time like that. You can keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling until you are able to find a font that match that. So in order to streamline my search, let me come back to this and remove all this other word. Let me just focus. Let me focus on the K. Let me see. Let me just focus on the K. Find me font that looks like this K. Would you be able to give me that? Let me see. Okay. It's able to give me fonts now that looks like it. This is K. That word, sorry, go back up. What did that word say? That word says work. Okay. You can type in your own word here. Say work, W-O-R-K. So it's going to give you font having that K. So all these fonts is giving me now that a font that looks like that. So you can then pick which of them works for you. If you are able to find the exact font with that name, fine. If not, fine. So for this, what we're just going to do is, let's just go back. Upload new. Let me just take this drag and drop. Let's see if we can find a font that's close. Unfortunately, this our guy is blurred though. So let's see if it will be able to find something for us. Identify. I think this font happens to be something very. The font looks familiar, but I can't remember if I know it. If I know it by name, it looks very familiar. Is this still giving me the word work? Why is this still giving me the word work? What was the word I was using this time? Forget password. Okay. Let me see. The same, looks close, but not the same. The A is different. Yeah, but Sarah, I don't want to spend all the time on this, but I want to be able to get the points for what I'm doing. You might want to take your time to search what exact fonts that we use there. For us, we might not be able to get that exact font. The designer, because Figma has a million fonts, so I don't know what the designer used. So we can't really know because it's an image. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um. Okay. Last week I was trying to talk to us about fonts, so it's a good thing we're still talking about font. And I was trying to show us the calculation that was used. Apparently, these guys, I was trying to go study because there are a lot of what's the word now? A lot of ratio to use. I was trying to know why they did a lot of change on gas. So, and I'm very concerned about not giving us the wrong information. So I had to go back to check what they had. So I noticed that they did a lot of refinement to it, personal refinement. But now let me explain this in full. So this calculation that is used there, 1.25, there are different numbers to use in calculation, but let's use whether or not. So how do I do this now? Okay, so I wanted to show us how that you can come about your own stuffs like this. So what I mean by those numbers are type scale. So for the number I mentioned to us here, let me bring it here. You see that what I use is major torque 1.250. That's what is here, 1.25. The zero is, if you do math a lot, most times you don't include zeros when they are dots like this. So you have 1.25. What I use is the major torque. So across different designs, designers might want to use a major torque, a minor torque. Do I see? Yeah, the major torque, the minor torque, major second, blah blah blah. So, like I was explaining to us last week, I said that so if I'm going to read this, basically you choose the base body type, define the entire scale structure. The size depend on the width and the structure of the typeface. So remember I told us that different typeface, which is different font, has different sizes and different widths. So those sizes are what's supposed to determine or define how you are supposed to come about the fonts that are used across your design. That's one. So, and then I said that you need to find the base font. So for me, I said we're going to use 16 as our base font. Generally, what is most used is 16. Now, here they said typically between 14 pixels to 18 pixels. So now 16 is more like in between. So the reason why we say 14 pixels to 18 pixels is that some fonts might be too big, that 16 is not a perfect size for them. So you need to go some pixels below. So you use 14. Some fonts might be too small, that 16 might not be perfect for them. You need to go a little bit higher, so you use 18. So, but basically it's within 14 to 18. But most font sizes try to find their bearing at the center, which is 16. So it's typically between 16 pixels to 18 pixels works well for web app. While 14 pixels can feel on the small side, it can improve the readability of weightier font typeface. So the type scale that I use here, these are different names of type scale. These are scale factors. So these guys obviously used one of these, but I don't want to trouble ourselves with beginning to test everyone. But how it works is this. This typeface is multiplied by your basic body type fonts that you choose. So I said for us, we're going to be using 16. So from 16, we begin to multiply upward. Now, I want us to use a site. So this is a site called typescale.com. There are a number of them you can make your research to use. But instead of wanting to design or wanting to create your design system and then you're using your calculator to calculate for one, you're not doing mathematics. Not calculating, start calculating. They are now just the same way you have, Sarah, just the same way you have that. I was just speaking to Sarah now, the same way we have that iconify that I showed you, or you can just go pick an icon that has been made and use instead of having to create everything from scratch. So this site has given us the opportunity to do the math for us. So what we need to do is to just put in our figure, put in the font we want to use, and then the site is going to do the calculation for us. We're just going to do copy and paste. So for this, we're able to see that if you look at the site, what the site is asking us, we can set as for us now, we're building for mobile. There's web, there's horizontal panels, blah blah blah, but we're going to use mobile. Let's come to mobile. On mobile, you're able to see, if you check the screen by the side here, let me expand this. You are able to see how it looks. So this side gives you an opportunity to feel how your font is looking. Is it looking too big? Is it looking too small? Just say, okay, the font size works for me. It works. If it's too big, you are able to make adjustments. If it's too small, you're able to make adjustments. So it gives you like a view to see what your font is looking like. So we're going to minimize this. Let's come back to this for now. Let me expand this. So this gives us all of our fonts. Basically, when we work on Figma, I told us that a number of people can use different names for this things. But the primary word we like to use is H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. Then you have your body, your subtitle, your caption, and your footnote. So that's pretty like what you have here. You have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. Your H6, which I think should be your body. Yeah, your H6 is your body. So H1, H2, H3, let's use pixels so that I will understand better. Let me not use strange numbers. Use pixels. So I've been using pixels with us. You have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So you have H6, then you have P. Okay, I think for this P is the body. That's 16 pixels. Then you have small, then you have extra small, which is so. But for these guys, what they did was that they defined what they were using their fonts for. So they defined it to say their display, what they're using, their headlines, what they're using, their title, their body, their label, their links, their button. So all of this, we're going to determine them by what we have here. So now, here's the catch. I said to us that the first thing you need to do is to define your basic font. So font size, I said 16 is what is preferably used. If you want to change it and use 14, so it becomes smaller. If you want to use, you see here now your basic font size has changed to 14. P is now 14. If I check it on the mobile device, I say, well, it still looks nice. For this particular font, it still looks nice. It's readable. But then know that this thing is, you're looking at it on the screen. If it's going to show on your phone, this guy might be quite small. It might look too small to read. So if we're going to increase this back to 16, let's increase it to 16 and see how it turns there. You see how all of this becomes bigger. If I change it back to 14, font here is smaller, I increase it back to 16, font becomes bigger. So our basic font, we're using 16. Now, our scale, now this is where, just like I mentioned here, that these guys use a different scale. Our scale here, the scale that we wanted to use is 1.250. So over here, we will need to set a scale. So there are different scales to use. Let's see something. Just give me a minute. Let's see something. Upload them. Trying to check different scales. Trying to see what these guys use. Still not been able to find exactly what they use. 16, 24, 36. Well, let me just let me continue with what we have. So for basically one of the most rightly used scale or more common scale to use that looks or sits perfectly well across your design, see this one seems very big, is making use of the major toy. That's 1.250. So you can use whenever you want to design, you can come to this site, say, okay, my primary font size, I want to use 16. If you want to use 14, it's fine. You click on it. You can decide to, we're using a free version. I want to adjust some more things here, but I'm going to leave all of that. Just focus on what is basic. Then change the font size. Say, okay, this is Intel. Let's use Poppins. So you want to use Poppins. It's okay. Poppins is a little bit bolder than Intel. Okay. Line height 1.6. It's okay. The width 500. If it says 600, 300. It's too small. Let's just leave it at what it was. 500. That's the thickness we're doing for 16. Oh. So what you are basically focusing on is this font. Now, with this font, there will now be a careful calculation on what every other thing is supposed to be. So I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. So once you do that, you're basically setting your what's it called? Your font 16, you set your scale, you set the font type you want to use, set your, this is light, set your boldness, maybe to 500. Fortunately for here, boldness is considered width. Let me explain what I mean by boldness is considered width. If I come back to zoom here, and I use this my typeface. Now, this font size here says, what's it called? Happy typeface, semi-bold. So I'm going to click on this. It's going to show me everything about it. The font name is Happy Typeface. I'm using semi-bold. Now, if you see the thickness that was this here, 500. That's the width, 500. The width is 500. The style is normal. The line height is 60 pixels. I'm able to understudy what font size they use here. Let me check this other one here. This is 400. This is 400. The size is 16. The line height is 25 pixels. The width is 400. So this 400, 500, 600, what they talk about is thickness. How thick? What's the width of the font? So if we come back to what we have here, we'll notice that this now is making reference to thickness. So if we check this our font here, and we check our font here, if I increase this thickness or I reduce it to, let's say, 100, it becomes very light. So the boldness is what this width is making reference to. So you can always check to say, okay, I want to use 400, or if it's 500, I want to use it. I want it to be more readable. I want to use 500. If it's 600, 600 is quite bold for body text. I don't encourage that. I'd mostly encourage 400. Let it be light, readable, 600, 500, 400, either of which. So if we're going to select that, that's typically what we need, and we're done. So we see that what we've basically focused on was this one, but this system has been able to create the rest to use. So what to use on my H6, what to use on my H5, what to use on my H4, that's giving me all the sizes. So I have 16, 48, 36, 39, blah, 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 back to 16, and I go backward. So if I want to use a link, just like what these guys have here, I'm able to now see everything to use. So I will now be able to decide on all of this, what to use for my body. This is my body text. What do I want to use for my header? What do I want to use for title? But at least that's giving me a proper scale. So the font sizes I'm using across my design are not just guesswork. So if I come to this design now, I can see here that the font size is on this top part of this design is H1. This head, big header that is done here, I can see that what is used there is H1. Let me try and expand this. So I can see that what is used here is H1. For this, it looks like this font, the font size is too big, but I'm not going to focus on that now. Let me find another font. This, we're using P, which is what we have here. Let's find another one. Okay, this, we're using H2. You can see across the design, you see where certain fonts are used. Here, we're using H3. So if you want to do, while you are designing your stuff, you're not just going to be using random. You're not going to be using random font sizes. You're going to be using a proper scale, a scale that has been considered appropriate for hierarchy sakes across your design. So all through, you see all of this. Now, I did say that okay, sorry, just